action. We got 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 woo. We got action. We got action. We got woo. We got action. Now we got action. We got woo. You are now tuned in to Intellectually Petty Radio. Hey, yo, Jobs. We got action, homie.
And you are now tuned into another episode of Intellectually Petty Radio, brought to you in concert with A Beautiful Machine magazine, as well as the mighty Nerd DJs Radio Network. Y'all already know, man. We have a couple people, man, that are just family to the platform. And my guy, student minister Troy Muhammad, first off, is just one of the most phenomenal individuals I have ever personally met. Knows everybody loves him, and is really, when I say down for our people, I don't know anyone more down for our people than student minister Troy Muhammad. Let me bring the brother to the conversation. How you doing, King?
I'm doing fine. I feel blessed to be here with you, who has always been a great brother for me. So I appreciate this platform. I appreciate you, and I appreciate this opportunity to share some thoughts.
Yo, what is justice?
What is justice?
Matter of fact, what is justice for black people, for the black man in America?
Well, you know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says that justice is fair dealing. You know, in this country, we've experienced just us, right? So we don't get the same fair dealing as everybody else. Justice is freedom and equality. Freedom, justice, and equality. Peace, man. You know, that's what we want for every human being. Justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when you're born, you know, you look at the entire picture, dear brother,
mm-hmm.
you know, of a people taken as slaves, of people mistreated,
mm-hmm.
of people held in slavery over 300 years, then segregated against, lynched, you know, all of this. And then, you know, we're trying to start businesses of our own, and they're being burned down, and the Ku Klux Klan comes. I mean, and then we come out of this, and we're expected to be the same as the people who put us through this.
Mm.
You know, we're expected to have the same as the people who benefited off of our work and labor. Then I remember on a Tupac song, I forget the song, he said, he was speaking from a young person's perspective, and he said, somebody has to explain to me why I don't have anything. You know, so we're born into a system that's not just for us, man. And we're expected to keep up, and we're expected to, you know, keep step with everybody else, but we haven't been repaired from the first injustice. So, you know, justice is a big word, dear brother.
Yeah.
And justice is a big requirement for all human beings, man. And until we get justice, the mind isn't going to operate right. We're not going to treat others how we want to be treated, not even knowing how we should be treated. You know, it's a big thing, you know, and it's a big conversation. It's not okay, what is justice? Here's the answer. You know, but a lot of things, especially when it comes to black people, but you can apply it to all people. A lot of stuff has to be unpacked. You know, we're all on individual roads, dear brother.
So I seen this white guy. He
Yes.
made a video about the white community in Arkansas and how black people shouldn't be upset with that. I agree with him. I don't think we should be upset. I don't care. My concern is and because his pushback was, if black people would do that, you would find that white people wouldn't care, and that's a lie, because black people have done that time and time again, and white people did cared so much they burnt the community down. or shot us or arrested us, did whatever they could to break up the harmoniousness of us not needing them. Is
Well,
us being self-sufficient a possibility in this country completely?
I definitely, I think I could use the Nation of Islam as a good example of what has been established as a separate entity almost. Of course, we still shop at Walmart, and we still go to certain stores and restaurants. But, in the Nation of Islam, we don't allow white people inside our facilities. We have our own justice system that we are expected to adhere to and follow. In the Nation of Islam, it's against the law for me to even argue with my brother or sister.
Yes, I did not know that.
Yeah, I can be put out. I can be discommunicated for just argument. So I think the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad set up a great structure for our people as an example of what we could do for ourselves. Purchasing. You came to Savior's Day, and to go through an event like that, and you see all the black vendors that were present, and us supporting one another and doing for one another and doing for self. I think that's a good model of what you're talking about. We traveled to Tulsa, Oklahoma, me and a team a year ago to see the Black Wall Street, how that was once, a great shining example of what you're talking about. And we went through the history to see how that self-reliance was attacked by white people. And I don't think it's a separation, just separation, but when you are separate and you can show success and you can show the ability to live on your own without their influence, that's where the problem comes in. Because the communities are already separate, right?
Yeah.
You go to the hood, it's black, it's Hispanic, it's whatever it is, but it's a separate community. But it's a separate community that's being fed by outsiders. They're satisfied with that type of separate community. But when we have the ability to show that we can do for ourselves and that we can do it, just depending solely on us, I think that's a different look and a different conversation with them. Right now, I'm sitting in the middle. I'm sitting in Dearborn, Michigan, where an Arab community came into what used to be an all-white community. And they've, purchased the businesses and they purchased the homes. And now they've set this community up to really be a full Arab community that's self-sufficient. The stores, if you go to even the McDonald's, they don't sell pork. The Tim Hortons don't sell pork. The grocery stores don't sell pork. They've set up a community to serve them, right? And they've become the suppliers of their own community. So I think that we have to begin to look at that and understand the importance of that, being a self-sufficient community. Right now, we go to everybody else for food, clothing, and shelter.
Yeah.
All the necessities. And you can never be successful if you're depending upon your enemies for your sustenance.
What I find is, and I'm old enough to remember when the Arab community and black folks did not get along at all. I think 9/11, it changed how they viewed us. And I think it changed also how we viewed them, in that we saw that they were getting the same treatment that we've been getting. And since then, I've noticed a change in just regular everyday dialogue. But it's not too many leaders that have really, really, really made an effort to bridge the gap, not just between Arab and black, but of everybody in Detroit. Why are you so successful at that?
Me?
Yes.
Man,
come on, bro. You be with everybody, man. Listen, come on, man. I'm about to curse. But
well, the minister teaches us to do unto others as you would have others do unto you. You know,
Mhm.
and if you try to carry yourself in that manner, man, you gain friendships in all walks of life.
Mhm.
You know, I don't think that, I think that to really I think black people, what you just described, the 911 thing, and we
Mhm.
seen this people getting treated like us in a sense.
Mhm.
You know, black people always invite people to the barbecue. You know,
Too much
we
sometimes.
we invite them all, right?
Yeah.
They don't invite us, so they can identify with us, but we're not really invited, and we're still seen
Mhm.
uh, as less than, and that's unfortunate. That's in every community. I have guys who work for me now who may be of a different color. They might be the janitor here,
Mhm.
but they think they're better than me. They think they know more than me, which is that's their failure.
Mhm.
But I think that when we walk in the vibe or the teaching of God, whatever you call him, I choose to call him Allah. Some say God, some say Jehovah. It's all the same. But when you walk in that way, man, you see all human beings different, right? But you see them as the same, right? The minister once said, and I shared it on my Instagram, he said, sometimes we're so arrogant that we will kill a mosquito as though we could make another one. That to me was heavy because what he was hinting towards was our disrespect of life in general, right? So when you
Mhm.
start seeing that all life comes from the Creator, you have a different respect for all life. And I think that comes across in the way that I try to present myself, that I am concerned. I'm
Mhm.
concerned about all life. In particular, since I am a black man and I'm from this community, I'm concerned about what I'm seeing in my community. I have been on both sides of the tragedies that we're seeing in our community. So the pain is there, and the desire to kind of correct my own wrongs is there. But, just having the opportunity of being one who fell down and then to go through a process of redemption, I can see the ability for all of us to be redeemed and all of us to be, uh, to place ourselves in a better condition than the one that we're in. So, I think it's the question is, being able to relate to other human beings. And I think it's just that teaching, that God teaching. Now that
Mhm.
doesn't make you, it doesn't make you bow to other human beings, but you realize all of you, you're created in the image and likeness of God. So you're not bowing, you're not scratching where there ain't no itch. You're being straightforward. And our people have gone through an experience like no other people. So oftentimes we don't know how to communicate, and it is maybe an intimidating factor. But when you have a knowledge of yourself and you know who you are, and you know that you're the original man and they all came from you, your approach becomes different. But it's been a blessing, man. I'm thankful for the teachings that I've come in contact with that allows me to move in all those circles, man, and have impact in all those circles and have friendships in all those circles as well.
You ever get nervous, like before you get ready to give a speech or a lecture?
I do, and that's because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan tells us that when you're speaking to Black people, in particular, you're speaking to the people of God. So you don't want to say the wrong things or do the wrong things. You want the presentation to be clear. So it's always something that I'm nervous about because I want to do it properly. I want to share a proper word. I'm not up there on my own vanity, but I'm up there representing a higher a word that I pray that can lift whoever hears it. So yeah, it's some nerves to it. The funny thing is that I'm more nervous when I'm speaking in front of 5 people than I am when I'm speaking in front of 20,000. So it's something.
And I've had the privilege of seeing you speak quite a few times now, I think. And my problem with church growing up is I'm listening to the pastor, reverend, whatever you want to call him, and I'm always in my mind debating them. If they say something, I say in my mind, I'm like, well, I read this in the Bible, and that ain't what that ain't what they said, or I didn't get that from that particular. I've never once done that with you. I have always felt, and I'm the furthest from religion of any kind, to be quite honest, but I've
Right.
always felt comfortable at the mosque.
Praise be to Allah, man. We come from the same experience, though, right? We've had the same experiences. We come from the same types of neighborhoods. We have some of the same likes.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone doesn't take time to really look at those who are in the audience, they're not going to relate. Or if they don't try hard to make the content relatable. So these are things that we're taught specifically in the Nation of Islam. You have to give people a message that they can understand. Some of us get so articulate that nobody understands. They need dictionaries to understand what we're talking about.
Man.
That's how my brother Michael Eric Dyson is. It's like, God, man. It sounds great, brother, but I don't know what you just said.
Extra syllables don't make it more understandable.
Right.
What do you struggle with?
Yeah. So
what do you struggle with anything?
Huh?
What do you struggle with? Do you struggle? Do you have a struggle?
I got a lot of struggles, brother. Every morning I wake up. That's why the Bible, it's a scripture in the Bible where the Apostle Paul says, I die daily, right? That means that every day he has to get up and kill off the anxieties he picked up from the day before, some of the grief that he may carry from the day before, some of the issues that he might have from the day before. So it's I think, every human being, we wake up, man, and it's a struggle. If it's, you're getting older, that's a struggle. Those are thoughts that come to mind. Or you're younger and you're pressed and you got anxieties. So I think all human beings struggle. I think that we are advanced by how we learn how to deal with the struggles that we're faced with. How do you deal with the struggles that you're faced with? Do you let them bother you? Do you let them stress you? Because stress is a killer. And if you're going through these things and don't know how to put them in certain compartments in your life, they can sink your ship. Man. So yeah, I got struggles like everybody else, man. And it's a list of struggles that you go through daily. And you have to be able, like, I guess that's what Jesus was talking about when he was saying, get behind me, Satan. It's not like a devil was standing in front of him, but it's more so, man, this is a struggle and I could succumb to this. This struggle in front of me can make me quit. This struggle in front of me can make brother back down from his radio show. You know what I mean? I may not be getting the traction that I want. And, I'm like, man, forget this show. I'm not going to do this no more. But you faced that struggle and kept going and kept pressing and kept pushing. Get behind me, Satan. You know what I mean? That's the part of you that may want to quit. Understanding that most of the struggles is based upon us, right? How do we look at it? Is it half empty or half full? How do we view life? Is it really a struggle or is it a challenge? How do I shape that in my mind so that I can deal with this thing and come out on the other side renewed, or better?
It's interesting. I had a conversation with Randy Rosario, and she said that the devil gives out blessings too. And I had never heard that before. And I can't unhear it. It has My question is how do you know the difference between Satan's blessing and the Lord's blessing?
The Lord's blessings are always good. I mean, all of it. The minister, man, he made me look at this thing and made us look at this thing so different, because he was the first one I heard who asked the question, you know, if the devil was real, who made the devil? God had to create the devil. If he didn't create him, then he's not God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to wonder, what is the purpose of that? So when she said, you know, God, the devil gives out blessings too, it's not necessarily that he's giving you a blessing per se, because what he gives you isn't always good, but he gives you a struggle to face. And that struggle, if you overcome it, now it improves you. That's the blessing, right? What he presents to you may be hard and difficult, but if you can overcome it, that's the blessing. You know, the patch that he gives you may be rough. So you look at, say, you know, if it's biblical, you look at the story of Adam and Eve, where the devil comes and he presents them with this challenge, and they both fail. And in their failing, they take a fall. Well, Jesus is, he's approached with a similar challenge from Satan. I could give you all this, man. But Jesus doesn't accept it. And even though in the story he's eventually crucified, if you look at his life today, it's an inspiration to millions. You know, so the struggle that Satan puts in front of you, or the devil puts in front of you, it becomes a blessing if you can overcome it. It gives you a chance to prove your faith. It gives you a chance to grow, to get stronger. You know, you've gone through things in your life, and when you push through them, you're like, damn, I didn't think I could get through that. But once you realize you have, it's like, man, I'm better, you know? So that's the blessing in it. I think the challenge is the blessing. The struggle is the blessing. You can't become a champion without challenges. You know, you can't just claim to be the heavyweight champion of the world and you ain't fought nobody.
Man, nobody want to hear that. So
right.
There's a question I ask everybody. I don't think I've asked you yet. Okay, so you're sitting on the park bench. God sits down next to you, and he or she says you can ask them one question. What would it be?
If who sits next to me?
God.
I mean, it's no questions. It's just thanks. You know, if I know it's him, I can only give thanks. And that's me talking now, right? Because I don't see the trees no more as just nice looking, part of the landscape. But I understand that the leaves from the trees purify the air that I breathe. You know, I don't look at just the body, but I understand that under what you see, you have a heart that pumps blood throughout your system. You have lungs, man. You have a whole system that works to benefit you. You know, I look at the human being as, I see how the sun draws up water from the earth. And then when that water gets too heavy, it comes back down in the form of rain. You know what I mean? So I can see now in my study how Allah has made a world and a life that's totally submissive to me, that takes care of me when I'm not, I don't have to wake up in the morning and put a quarter in my ear for my heart to start beating, for my lungs to be active. So this is put together perfectly by an architect.
Oh, when you get a phone call, we can't hear you. It'll come back in a second. Can you hear me still, though? Yeah, usually when you get a call, I don't know what I do with my lights here, but usually when you get a call, it messes up the stream there for a second. Yeah, I think we're good now.
So I said, what can I say to him except for thank you? You know, when you consider all of that, how many of us thank God for our hands based upon all the things that our hands provide for us? How many of us, we say thank Jesus when we go on a trip, but what about the legs that got you there? What about the hands that earned you the money to get there? You understand what I'm saying? So if I know it's God, the only thing I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yo, total U-turn. Well, not U-turn, total left. You seem to have tapped into the streets. What's different about the streets now than when you were running them? Are they? And I'm sorry. Are they more receptive? Are they more receptive to the knowledge now?
That's a big question because the answer is huge. I mean, that's a conversation we can just sit down on the couch and have, to be honest. But I think like it's been a lot of shootings of young people here in Detroit over the last 2 weeks. And I'm talking about 4-year-olds, 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I was invited to come to a prayer vigil tomorrow. And I decided not to go. I'm not going to go because it's reactive, right? I think we have to do more in the proactive. So I think when we were coming up, we at least had the structure of our family and we had a decent school structure.
Yeah.
Where if you weren't giving all the structure from your family, you had a good structure at school. So when we left school, we wanted to be a fireman. We wanted to be a cop. We wanted to be good. The household made us, gave us a certain level of manners and respect for elders, But then you get this thing that happened in the 80s, which was this war on drugs.
Yeah.
And a lot of the fathers were sent to prisons. Some of the women were on drugs. So now you're dealing with the children of those. And I'm basing it upon the fact that a lot of the brothers who were incarcerated with me, they come home and now we're trying to raise these families. You know what I mean? My youngest is 21. My oldest is 28. So that's that age group that we're talking about, a little younger than them. But it's like they don't have the same structure. They don't have the same family structure. They don't have the same school structure.
Yeah.
So they're not getting a good foundation in life, man. They don't have nothing, a great foundation to start off with. It never should be the first option is to shoot somebody. Where does that even come in the play at? Where my first option is to shoot.
That's crazy.
So, I think that we have to do more on the front end with these young people. I work in the juvenile facility, doing mentoring at the Wayne County Juvenile Facility. And I had an interesting situation. I was talking to a young man. He was 15. And he had murdered somebody. So I'm talking to him and we built a relationship. And he told me at one point, he said, I know that I could get probation for this. In my mind, I'm like, you're not getting probation for that. You're not even considering the weight of what you did. You took a life. A week later, I end up getting my own transcripts from when I got incarcerated at 17. And in those transcripts was a letter I wrote to the judge. And I had an attempt murder case. And in the letter I wrote to the judge, I know that I can get probation for this, right? So it kind of made me understand that at 16, 17, 15, the mind ain't even developed to the point where you're looking beyond the act to how the act that you committed affects other people. You know what I mean? You're not even seeing the long-term effect of what you've done. If you kill somebody, you didn't just kill him, but you may have taken a father from a child. You may have taken a son from a mother or a father. You know what I mean? The effect that you've had is bigger than just that incident. And I think that we have to begin teaching more so the bigger picture. Teaching to think before you do. Teach our children about, instead of taking prayer out of school, teaching our children about God in an educational environment, but also teaching the human being, the child, your role and how special you are and how precious you are. That should be a class. Because I think if we can begin to see it in ourselves, man, we could see it in our brother or our sister, man.
Absolutely.
And since I've gotten that type of knowledge and understanding, I've gotten into confrontations with people, but I don't, I'm not about to slap you or nothing. You know what I mean? It's like I'm looking at another human being. I love myself. Therefore, I love those who look like me and reflect me. I have value on myself. Therefore, I value the life that's in front of me. But a lot of us, man, our young children are looking at the lives that they have, and they don't see that people value them, and they don't value themselves, man.
Yeah.
So I don't give a damn about you or the next person.
So I've struggled with the immigration issue. For the longest time, it's not my fight. I don't even care. This is a community that doesn't care about me, so why should I give a shit about them?
Right.
But then I see some of the extremely egregious, like I can see past this, and some of the things that they're saying, they're trying to also have the ability to take citizens out this country whenever they feel like it.
Well,
should we as a community have a role in helping combat the immigration that's going on?
Well, you started off asking about justice. So if the worst immigrant, which is the white man, is now in charge of putting people out, when he came in, Native Americans accepted this devil, man. And then he comes in and takes everything from them, murders the men, the women, and the children, takes the land, brother. He isn't in position to now tell who should be here and who shouldn't be here, man. If we ask the Native American the question, I'm sure they'll say, man, damn, he shouldn't be here. Did you see the movie Sinners?
I have not.
Oh, my God. You got to see that movie. There's so many hidden gems in the movie. But, I just think it's, when you talk about justice, you can't have the worst immigrant in the history of the world, brother, the white man. He comes in, he murders, robs, steals, rapes, pillages, and now he's in the country that he's stolen, that he's built off of free labor, and now he's trying to tell you who can be here and who can't. That's the greatest injustice, and that's so hypocritical, man. So, I think that, of course, you want to be able to manage those who come in, but I don't think that you should have the right to deny, just based upon that, right? I think a better system needs to be created so people don't have to run across borders and things like that. I think a better system should be created, but I don't think that this devil has the right to judge others because if he was judged, he would be the first one that we kicked out.
So within our tent, especially what I see online a lot now, is Pan-Africanism versus foundational Black Americans. And it bothers me to see us publicly going at each other over shit that the biggest thing is reparations and who should get it. Like, bruh, we're so far away from reparations. Like, why are we fighting over that? Like,
Right.
what's pissing you off about? I don't know if you can use that terminology, but when you're going through social media, you scrolling, what really just pisses you off?
Concerning that issue or
Anything.
I mean, I think say this incident recently with Sean P. Diddy Combs.
Mm-hmm.
Before him, it was another celebrity. And before him, it was another celebrity. And just that, the desire to see people fall and to tear people down. I mean, I think that's the thing that makes me tune out of social media every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
To see that type of hatred in every case, man, unless it comes to white people, where then you see Black people making excuses for Donald Trump, or now they're making excuses for Hulk Hogan. And, so but when it's us, man, it's like, get rid of that nigga, hang him, hang him.
100% correct.
When all the facts haven't even been established, so it's, that bothers me much. As far as the Pan-Africanism, and, I think it's a space for all of that. I do think that,
Mm-hmm.
We were enslaved and we built this country. So based upon that, we deserve part of this. But also understand, man, the mindset where we need to have a land and a place of our own, man. We need to be able to operate outside of this white-mindedness that we've picked up from this sick country, which has made us sick. We've been feeding in this sick country for a long time. And if you look at our condition as a people, you can see how sick we are, man. We've been contaminated. Man. So you scroll social media, man, you got half-naked women and yapping guys on podcasts. You know what I mean? Like, that's all we got. Right now I'm one of the yapping guys on a podcast. And if
well, no, bro. You're not a yapping guy on a podcast.
I'm saying it in a way where, 90% of our podcasts aren't positive.
Yeah.
Right? 90% is, gossip or male versus female, that type of thing. And then you got the sisters, they naked. And so we've obviously been made sick by this country. Reparations is a very important thing, man. Because we have precedents of other people that have received reparations.
Absolutely.
Everybody but us. Right. Everybody but us. And, it's an obvious injustice that has taken place. So why not? What's the holdup?
Especially since they gave the slave owners, I repeat, the slave owners reparations. Well, and just gave us, quote unquote, freedom.
Definitely.
What's the best thing? What do you love the most about Detroit?
Man, the people. The people, man. I remember, my mother, I was raised by my grandparents. Mm-hmm. So my grandmother was a nurse for a Jewish couple. And my grandfather was a truck driver. So, we were kind of, during that time period, we were pretty well off.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I lived in an all-white neighborhood. It was all white. And then by the time I turned, I'd say 5, the neighborhood started integrating. So I saw all white neighborhood turn all black, right? I remember going to the sporting events with my grandparents because they like baseball, and you kind of notice how sporting events, even to this day, sporting events bring Detroiters together. You know what I mean? All colors, everybody's there. We're having a good time. So I just like because in Detroit you got Southwest community, which is Chicano.
Yep.
You have the black community, East Side, West Side. You have white people in their pockets. You have the Arabs and the Chaldeans and the Koreans. They got their places.
Okay, so, Koreans.
Yeah, Koreans. Yeah,
where the Koreans at, bro?
Yeah, man. When you come, I'm gonna take you around.
I ain't seen that yet, but
man, we got Koreans. We got Koreans just like the lady that was on Friday. But we got a place called Asian corned beef here, and the first time, I was hearing about how good the food was, so I went in there one time, and it's this Asian lady, and she got like 4 big black brothers. I guess they're sons or employees or something, but it's like, it was crazy. And, the way that she talks, she sound like us, man. So Detroit has just been that type of place, man. It's a good mixture of people, and you get an understanding of people. When I first met White Boy Rick, we were incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see him because we were in a prison that had cells.
Mm-hmm.
But I could hear him talking maybe 4 cells down. He sounded like an older black man based upon his English. He had a bit of broken English, stuff like that. Today, he talks much better. But, it's just that's how we came up, man. Those are the experiences we had when we kind of growing up together. So Detroit is really a melting pot, man. So I do love that about it. I love black people here because they're just they're lovers, man. Even though you see the violence, man, they're just the loving people. So, I love this city, man. I'm happy to be working in this city, man, and I'm happy to see the efforts that some are making to get it back to what it could be.
Do you ever endorse a candidate for office?
I have.
Will you be endorsing somebody for mayor, or have you done that?
I haven't done that yet. I have my thoughts and my opinions, but you try to wait till the final 2, right? Before you do an endorsement. So right now they're working to get that final 2, and we'll see who they are. I out of the candidates that we have, I don't think we lose with any of them, right?
Okay.
I know I've met all of them, and I know maybe 3 personally, and they're generally good people, and I don't think it's, I think with a candidate for a mayor or a president, I think it's really the humility of the person running for the office. If they're humble enough to say, I don't know, humble enough to hire people who know how to do some of the things that they don't, I think that can make them effective. When Mayor Mike Duggan, who is the current mayor of Detroit, ran, he came to meet with me and he asked me, would I support him? And I told him, absolutely not. I
love that part of the story.
Yep. I said to him, you there?
Mm-hmm. We just can't see you. We can hear you. We just can't see you.
Okay, I'm getting.
All right, yeah, you're good. You're good now.
Okay, I said to him, as long as you're running against a black candidate, no, I won't support you. I told him the truth. I said, I do know some people who will, though, and I'll link you up with them, which is what I did. And, he's been honest with me ever since. You know what I mean? He's been supportive ever since. He's been helpful ever since. And I think it's based upon the initial honesty and, keeping my word to help him in the area that I did. So, again, I got a few friends in this race. And whoever it is, I'm going to support him 100% because that's the mayor of our city, man.
I think old girl is like it's hers to lose. Outside of her like punching somebody in the face on TV, I think Mary Sheffield's probably gonna take it.
Well, she's ahead in all the polls that I've seen, and it would be refreshing to have the first female mayor. That would be something to see.
Yeah.
But you never know, man. You never really know, man. I thought that, when you look at how women outnumber men, and you would think that a woman candidate would be a shoo-in. But then you look at these numbers and you realize, like even with this Trump election, a lot of women just won't vote for another woman.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah. So, you never know, man. But like I said, I think that regardless who the mayor is, regardless who the president is, I mean, we as a people got to do what we got to do, man. And it's not based upon an elected official or an elected position. It's based upon the position that we allow God to take in our minds, man. And when I talk about God in our minds, I'm not talking about becoming some soft, praying fella or some soft dude in the choir, but using the tools and the gifts that he blessed each of us with to do something for ourselves, man, and to organize for ourselves and to create opportunities for our children and safe spaces for our children. That's what we all have the ability to do, man. So, it doesn't matter who's elected or who's in office. We got to get the right person in office right here in our heads, man. And that goes for everybody who watches this interview. You got to elect the right office right here, man.
I don't see and hear everything, but I don't recall seeing a Nation of Islam member run for office. Am I wrong?
The mayor of Benton Harbor is a member of the Nation of Islam.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever considered that then?
Mayor Marcus Muhammad have I considered it? No.
Yes.
I've been approached and I've been asked. I don't think it's that easy just because that you're known by a few people that you can just automatically become mayor. That stuff takes a lot of money and a lot of everything. But I think that when you have as a minister, I have to represent God first.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my thought on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't be a mayor and represent the people and God, because sometimes the people ask you for something and you got the majority of votes. Well, we want the gay building over here and, the weed spot right here. And, those don't line up with the God teaching. Right. So when do you have to draw a line at a certain point. So I don't think you could be a good servant in the office.
I disagree, bro.
In a world like this.
In biblical times, we think we got some trash cities now. They have some really trash cities. So much that God said, you know what? I'm just gonna burn y'all all. I'm just gonna turn y'all all to whatever the case. He destroyed cities because they was trash.
Right.
But he also had representatives in places of power. Kings, different authority figures. You go throughout the Bible, it's people that were, beholden to God and God alone, but also carried out his instructions from a position of authority. I don't see how that would be any different. And you can't tell me like King David didn't have to deal with horrible slave owners or, a lot of stuff that was morally bankrupt, but culturally relevant at the time that he was in power, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Bible, no people in the Bible ever repented. No kingdom mentioned in the Bible ever changed, with the exception of when Jonah came back to this people and gave them the message of God after he went through his struggle. You know, he goes back and he preaches to Nineveh and they change, but they only change for a second. So from the beginning of the Bible all the way to the end, you don't have anybody who went the way of God, right outside of the prophets and the messages that he sent.
Yeah.
So, I think that you have to have leadership that says, thus saith the Lord, right? Leadership that raises, and I'm not saying throw religion down people's throats or anything like that, but you raise up righteous behavior. You raise up good, and you make good the standard. In a just society, yeah, that would work. But you have a society similar to the society of Sodom and Gomorrah, where Lot comes to them and says, listen, it's more lawful for you to have my daughters. And these guys say, no, we want the men. It's like, what? He said, he tells them, he says, God made these women for you, brother. And they say, no, we want the men, so you're in a society, brother, like that. So, in a society like that, God cleans the house, man. And the house cleaning that we're talking about now that we're witnessing, it ain't like thunder is going to come down and kill thousands of people, but you're looking at, the stuff, the judgments that we're seeing daily, man. When you get 25 to 50 years, that's judgment. When you get murdered on a corner, that's judgment, man. The stuff that we're seeing in all of these communities where you have young white teens going to school, shooting them up, that's judgment. So you're seeing judgment take place on all different levels, man. If I eat the wrong foods, man, and I come up with some type of high blood or cancer, that's judgment on me, man.
Yeah.
Smoking, man, and then I get cancer. I can't be mad. That's part of the judgment of tearing up my own body. So, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to, I can speak to the mayor, right?
Right.
I can speak to the city council. And I, been blessed to have some influence in those areas. So I don't need the position if I can have influence in those areas, or even if they sometimes come to me for counsel on certain situations. And in Detroit, we're blessed to have, a nice group of men and women who are leadership, will gather together for counsel. That's another beautiful thing about Detroit. The leadership has always been receptive of community involvement. So I think that's a good thing, and I think that's helped Detroit develop a bit better in the long run. So I'm not just saying it's just me that they come to, but it's a group of maybe 30, 40 great brothers and sisters, man, who have influence in this city with the mayors and with the council members. And it's just like we're working together to build something better.
And I know you got a lot of things to do. One more question, I'm gonna let you go. You definitely have integrated into the hip hop community beautifully. But for me, when I look at interviews of brothers and sisters, even some that I've interviewed personally, Vezo just stands out, I swear.
Okay.
He just stands out, and it's not musically, it is philosophically. When you talk to the brother, he's just different. Would you agree? And what is it that you see in him that you feel confident in his growth trajectory going forward?
Well, the thing is growth, right? You can only stay in a place for so long, and some of our young people get stuck in these places and they stay. You know, and I think that's the tragedy when we don't grow. You know, when I think Jay-Z said, you know, I can't talk about selling drugs in the hallway all day because I'm not selling drugs in the hallway all day, you know, any longer.
Yeah.
Right. So my lyrics have to expand to my experience. Right. I can't, I mean, if I'm still talking about selling rocks or something, like, damn, bro, you haven't advanced.
Damn.
So with a man like Vezo, you know, we were just together a week ago. And we were discussing, he came to the mosque to do a video. And in the video, he's detailing his transition from a street life to a more spiritual life, right? And he talked about his own personal growth and development. And I think that's the beautiful thing when you can see growth in a person. You know, Prince grew from just being an artist to understanding the value of the art that he was giving, and how his art was being manipulated, right? Michael Jackson grew, you know, to the point where he was trying to buy those who owned him, right? So the growth is what we definitely applaud, because that's demanded of every human being, to grow. You know, to be able to look at yourself yesterday and say, okay, that's not where I am today. To be able to look at my life last year and say, okay, that's not me no more. And I can't be upset with a person based upon their growth process, because we all go through different things that affect our growth. You know, we had a young man here in Detroit. It was a news story years ago. The school reported him for malnutrition, reported his family. And what they found out after investigating, that when he came home every day from school, his family would put him in a cage. Right?
Damn.
Yeah. And he was probably about 11 years old. But now, if I wonder to myself, where's this guy now? What type of attitude does he have now? You know, and that attitude basically would be based upon what he experienced as a young man coming up. You know what I mean? So I can't judge him the same as me.
Yeah.
Or I can't expect him to change the way that I change, or, you know, or perceive things the way that I perceive things. So every human being is on a individual walk. And we change based upon our experiences, man, how this affects us. And, you know, so when I see our brothers in the hip hop community, I don't judge them, man. It's not a space for me to judge people. You know, I think you've been with me around some of them. If they smoking weed or doing their thing, I don't, you know, they'll try to put their weed away and things like that out of respect. And I'm grateful for that. But I don't demand that they do things like that, because I want them to be themselves in my presence so they can be honest. I learned that from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It was an incident that I was told about where Suge Knight had a cigar, and the request was, you know, by his security, do you want us to ask him to put out his cigar? And the minister said, no, you know, I don't want him to feel like he has to change in my presence. Right? So you let people be who they are. And, you know, I never, you know, a lot of our brothers make the mistake. You know, you asking them for money and asking them for stuff. You don't do that, you know, because they already have so many people around them that's pulling on them, man.
Yeah.
You know, so these artists that you see me around, can't none of them